All right, let's dive into something that's quietly shaking up one of the most important fields out there: how we train our doctors. Seriously, we're in the middle of a huge shift away from the old way of doing things. It's becoming more objective, more data-driven, and it's all being powered by technology you probably use every day. So let's get into it. It really all boils down to this one simple but incredibly important question. When a doctor finishes their training, how do we know they're ready? How can we be sure they have the skills to take care of you and me? For a long time, the answer was just based on, well, time. But that's all changing, and fast. And that change is leading us to this whole new way of thinking. It's a move from focusing on hours to focusing on outcomes. We're moving away from the idea that just logging time in a hospital is enough. Instead, the focus is now on tangible, provable skills. It's a real shift from an old-school apprenticeship to straight-up evidence. Yeah, this slide really lays it out. The old way pretty much just assumed that after, say, 4 years of residency, you were good to go, competent. But the new way, it says, prove it, show me. Think about training a pilot. You don't just care how many hours they've flown in a simulator, right? You want to see them actually land the plane. Medicine is finally, and thankfully, getting that same outcome-focused mindset.
And this new model has a name, of course. It's called Competency-Based Medical Education, or CBME. The key word here is demonstrating. It's a total shift away from just completing a program. Now it's all about demonstrating those specific skills, like communication, professionalism, patient care. It's about proving you can do the job, not just that you've been at the job for a while. So this all sounds great, right? It makes perfect sense. But it creates a brand new, massive challenge. If a doctor's entire career progression depends on showing you they have the skills, how on earth do you observe and evaluate them consistently and fairly, and for thousands of trainees at once? A supervisor can't be everywhere, and human memory, well, it's not perfect.
Well, the answer to that challenge is turning out to be a total game changer. And that answer is video. Yep, the same technology we all have in our pockets. It's providing this incredibly powerful new lens for learning, one that turns those subjective, in-the-moment interactions into objective, reviewable data. So, video becomes way more than just a recording. It's an objective, permanent record of what actually happened. It lets both the trainee and their mentor hit rewind, slow things down, and analyze the performance. It's kind of like a sports instant replay for medicine. It transforms this fleeting moment into a solid piece of evidence that everyone can learn from. So how does video actually make this all work in the real world? Well, its impact really rests on 3 core pillars. These are the things that make this whole new training model possible, and they're completely changing how doctors learn, get feedback, and ultimately get evaluated.
And here you can see those 3 pillars in action. See, video isn't just one thing. It's an engine that drives 3 crucial processes: self-reflection, feedback, and assessment. These 3 things are the absolute foundation for making competency-based education a reality. First up, self-reflection. This is huge. For the very first time, medical trainees can literally watch themselves in action, almost like they're an outside observer. They can see their own body language, hear their own tone of voice. They can critique themselves. It's an incredibly powerful way to see what you're doing right and, more importantly, what you need to improve. Next, it completely changes the game for feedback. Gone are the days of a supervisor just saying, you need to work on your empathy. Now, they can point to a specific moment in a video and say, see, right here at the 2-minute mark, watch the patient's face. Let's talk about what you could have said differently right there. It makes feedback super precise, actionable, and impossible to ignore. And finally, it just makes the whole evaluation process more transparent and fair. If there's ever a question about a trainee's performance on a big exam, a review panel can just watch the tape. This takes a lot of the subjective memory or potential bias out of the equation. It means decisions are based on objective, reviewable proof. And look, this isn't just a cool idea. The research absolutely backs it up. A major review of studies found that when you combine medical simulations with video feedback and a real, structured conversation about it, learning outcomes go way up. This is evidence-based education in action. Okay, so of course, putting all this into practice isn't as simple as just hitting the record button. There are some real hurdles to overcome and some practical how-tos to think about if you want to make it happen successfully. And let's be real, the challenges are significant. You've got massive privacy and consent issues, especially with patient data.
You have faculty who are already stretched thin, and reviewing videos takes time. You have students who might feel super anxious about being recorded all the time. And of course, the tech just has to work every single time. No excuses. But the good news is there's a clear path to get this done right. The key is to start small. Focus on an area like communication skills, where video can have a huge, immediate impact. Then, it's absolutely critical to pick a platform that's secure and easy to use. You've got to train the trainers on how to give good video feedback. And maybe most importantly, you need to create a culture where students see this as a tool for their own growth, not as some kind of surveillance. So with these systems starting to fall into place, what's next? Where is this all headed? Let's take a look at the future of training, because this is where things get really, really exciting. Get ready for this. AI-powered feedback is right around the corner. Imagine an AI that can analyze these videos automatically. It could give feedback on a trainee's speech patterns, tell them if they're talking too much or listening too little, or even spot nonverbal cues from the patient. This could give amazing insights at scale and take a huge load off the faculty. And then there's the next big leap, virtual reality. We're talking about trainees stepping into these super realistic, dynamic simulations of rare and complex medical emergencies. It gives them a chance to practice their skills in a totally safe but high-stakes environment. It's basically practice for the unpredictable. And finally, just picture this. Institutions all over the world creating shared libraries of anonymized video clips, the best examples of great patient communication or the trickiest diagnoses. This would create these incredible learning resources and benchmarks for everyone, completely breaking down the walls that exist between hospitals and schools today. Which brings us to our final question. When you put all this together, you have to wonder, will the future of medicine, at least the training part of it, be recorded? It's looking more and more likely that the path to becoming a doctor is going to be a visible, reviewable, and data-rich journey. And that's pretty exciting, because it means our future doctors might be more skilled and more ready than ever before.